Chapter 19. The Perfect Present. Another of his sources of fearful pleasure was to pass long winter evenings with the old Dutch wives, with a row of apples roasting and spluttering along the hearth, and listen to their marvelous tales of ghosts and goblins. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I cried myself to sleep over the next couple of days and avoided the cemetery and river at all costs. I felt depressed and awful and sick at heart. Between this most recent fight and the earlier conversation on taking it slow, things were not going very well for Caspian and me. The fact that it was almost Christmas made it 10 times worse. Uncle Bob must have picked up my mood because he kept asking me if I was feeling okay while I set up the filing system for him. I told him that everything was fine and I felt great, but I don't think he believed me. Not like I really blamed him, though. I was withdrawn and silent, with permanent purple bags under my eyes. Not exactly the picture of glowing health. I finally gave in to his persistent badgering and left early on Sunday afternoon. He insisted on paying me for a full day's work and even threw in a Christmas bonus. I just tried not to cry and gave him a big hug before meeting Mom outside. The crying thing was getting annoying, but it was happening a lot these days. Luckily, I managed to keep the blubbering to a minimum. Mom surprised me by stopping at the mall on the way home, saying that I was in dire need of some spontaneous seasonal shopping therapy. I strongly disagreed with her. The last place I wanted to be right now was in a crowded shopping center, watching all the happy couples strolling by hand in hand sharing Christmas cheer with each other. Yeah, I definitely wasn't in the mood for that. But Mom has always been a brilliant tactician, and she wore me down with promises of free food and new shoes. As we pushed our way through the revolving doors, she made a beeline for the food court and snagged us some fresh cinnamon rolls and steaming hot chocolate. As I willingly munched away, I couldn't help but think that Mom should have been a war general or something. She had totally missed her calling. Leaving no room for doubt, she herded me to the shoe store, and unwittingly, I found myself the new owner of the cutest pair of brown boots. Damn it, she was good. We walked past bell ringers, present wrappers, and Christmas carolers dressed in old-fashioned costumes. From time to time, we'd stop in and check out a store, but mostly I was just browsing. We even saw Santa and one very tall, very bored-looking elf, but we thought better of stopping. After we came to the pet store window display and spent a sufficient amount of time ogling the baby kittens, Mom and I decided to split up for a while, and we each went our separate ways. It didn't take me long to find a new laptop carrying case for her Christmas present and an electronic baseball trivia thingamajig for Dad. I didn't really have any idea what to get for the Maxwells, and nothing jumped out at me as I continued to look around, so I decided to wait and give their gift some more thought. As far as Caspian went, I still didn't know what to do there. On the one hand, I didn't even know if we were still talking, let alone whatever we were boyfriend-girlfriend-wise. But on the other hand, it just didn't feel right to not get him anything for Christmas. I had to be able to find some small gift to give him. I trekked across the mall and ended up in a sports store, an electronics store, and even a men's clothing store along the way, but still didn't find anything. When I started to seriously eye up tube socks while wondering if I could get them gift-wrapped, I knew it was time to stop. Lugging my bags back to the food court, I stopped to get another hot chocolate before finding a bench. For a while, I just sat there at the edge of the crowd and watched the throng of people go by while I blew gently on my drink. Just as I was taking a tester sip and checking my cell phone to see how much time I had left before I had to meet Mom, someone plopped down next to me. I jerked in surprise and tried to hold on to the styrofoam cup. My bags jostled against my legs and I turned, ready to give whoever had sat down an earful. Mrs. Maxwell sat there, frowning slightly. "I'm sorry, dear. I thought you saw me coming. I never would have snuck up on you if I knew that hot drink was in your hand." "Not a problem." I tried to casually wave it off, but the drink was still in my grasp, so I took a sip. "How have you guys been? I haven't seen you in a while. Did you get some Christmas shopping done?" I noticed her lack of bags and mentally kicked myself. She had one less person to buy for this year, and I had probably just reminded her of that. "Mostly window shopping today," she replied. "I haven't bought anything yet since, well, you know." Things will be different this year. I busied myself with my drink again and we fell into an awkward silence. So, can you believe we got snow already? I hope it's a white Christmas this year. It was lame to talk about the weather, but unfortunately it was all I had. I know, she said. The snow is so beautiful. I hope it's a white Christmas too, but just snow, not ice. I hate ice. Sipping slowly, I looked around me, nodding in agreement. Will it always be this awkward between us? Kristen's mom had been like a second mother to me, but now it was like we were only the barest of acquaintances. A death could change so many things for many people. It was heartbreaking. Are you going to the New Year's party at the museum? I asked, hoping that was safer territory. She shook her head. I don't think so. We'll probably just stay home this year and keep things quiet. It's for the best. A sad look crossed her face and I could tell she was fighting not to cry. I placed my almost empty cup on the ground next to me and reached for her hand. I know this Christmas will be difficult for you. Losing Kristen was like losing a limb and I can especially feel your pain. It's going to be hard on all of us. I took a deep breath and vowed then and there never to tell Kristen's mom about the diaries. She didn't need that hanging over her head. I'll see you guys at our house for Christmas dinner though, right? You can't skip that. And you know someone has to help me eat all those dozens of cookies Mom will inevitably make in a fit of madness. You don't want me to leave me alone in that, do you? I'll end up gaining like 50 pounds and then I'll definitely be mad at you guys when I'm forced to buy all new clothes. She laughed and squeezed my hand. Your mother does whip herself up into quite a cookie frenzy every year. I guess it wouldn't be fair to leave you alone in that misery. I heaved a large sigh. You do understand. Thank you for taking pity on me and my poor waistline. She laughed again and my spirit soared. Maybe I can get rid of that awkwardness after all. A smile on her face was a definite improvement over tears. Same time, same place then? I asked in invitation. She nodded and the smile stayed on her face. It was so good to see her happy, I wanted to make her stay that way forever. You know, I said softly, if you ever need to adopt a daughter, even for like a couple of hours, I'm all yours. You've always felt like a second mother to me, and I would be honored to repay the favor. Her eyes misted over at that, and she mouthed thank you before giving me a shaky hug. I need to get going, honey. I told Harold that I'd meet him in 10 minutes. If I don't find him in time, we'll be stuck here for hours looking at the electronics store. You know how men are. I nodded, and she looked at me for a minute longer. Then she turned and walked away, quickly becoming a melted shadow lost among all the other shoppers. Since I had a couple more minutes to kill, I decided to go check out the perfume store. Mom found me 10 minutes later, happily sniffing away at several samples. How did I know I would find you here? I didn't even turn around. Hey, Mom, are you all done with your shopping? Yes, she said hurriedly. But we need to leave now. I forgot that I have 54 red bows to make for all the shops participating in Christmas in the Hollow. I have to get back home and start those. I'm ready to go whenever you are. Do you think my perfumes smell better than these? I held out the tester tube. Mine have a stronger scent to them and not so much of an alcohol after-smell. She leaned in for a quick whiff and made a face. Yep, you smell better. Now get your bags and let's go. I kept the sample and picked up my bags before turning to leave. Mom was babbling on and on about how glad she was that only the shops on Main Street were participating and that it wasn't every street, because then she would have 500 bows to make. Blah, blah, blah. I wasn't paying much attention to her rambling. I was too busy thinking about my Sleepy Hollow perfume project and how I could tie in a holiday theme with it. We were 5 feet away from the exit doors when a tiny hole in the wall shop caught my eye. It was a bookstore called Hallowed Words, and the sign on the door stated that they specialized in vintage books. I skidded to a stop, bags flying wildly around me. Mom didn't notice at first, but then she turned back when she hit the outside doors alone. I need to make a stop in here, I said quickly. I'll only be 5 minutes, I swear. Her look was disbelieving. You had all the time in the world earlier, Abby. Why didn't you go then? I told you I have a lot of work to do tonight. Please, Mom? Only 5 minutes. You can warm up the car and bring it around. I promise it will only be 5 minutes. She glared. You better be at the door when I get there. 5 minutes. Okay, I called over my shoulder, already walking toward the store. I didn't know if I would find anything in there, let alone find it in 5 minutes, but I had a good feeling. Stepping through the glass doors was like stepping back in time. The store had a papery old book smell, and it was nice. I breathed deeply, briefly wondering if I could make a perfume that smelled like old books, but then I was quickly moving on. My 5 minutes were ticking away, and I realized there was no way 5 minutes would be enough time to spend in here. Books were literally everywhere. Floor to ceiling, row after row. Bookcases were lined up one behind the other, and each one was practically groaning under its full load. I was doomed. I'd never make it out in time. Wandering down the first aisle, I kept telling myself that I should leave. It was a waste of time. But I kept walking, and the first aisle led me to the second aisle, and that led me to a third, and then I made a right turn. I was just trying to turn around and give up when I came to a corner display. There, on two small brass shelves, were several old books, and the prize was in the center. An antique telescope. As I got closer, I could see that it was a display based on astronomy. My head got a weird buzzing sensation, and I felt a tiny shock run up my spine as I gazed in mute adoration and awe. This is it. I had found the perfect gift for Caspian. The telescope was in amazingly pristine condition. Made of antique glass and old metal beauty, it looked like something to be found in a mad scientist's laboratory. It was perfect. I held my breath as I picked it up, feeling its heavy, solid surface under my fingertips, and I prayed that it was a price I could afford. Visions of price tags marked $200, $300, and even $500 kept running through my head, and I desperately hoped that I was wrong. When the tag revealed the price of $50 slashed in half and $25 marked next to it, I practically broke out into song and dance. Oh yeah, it was totally mine. Carefully tucking my treasure under one arm, I turned to the books up and picked up one that was beautifully illustrated with drawings of the stars. It was from the early 1900s, and I couldn't believe my good luck. The price tag on the little beauty showed a mere $8, and I quickly added it to my loot. Knowing that my time had probably come and gone, I tried to find the front of the store and anxiously waited for the salesperson to come ring up my purchases. Did you find what you were looking for? She asked as she slowly rang things up for me. Yes, I replied with a large grin. I found exactly what I was looking for.